Welcome back, you beautiful freak of nature. You walking lie detector test. You human radar system that nobody asked for but everyone fears. Yeah, I see you. The one who knows things before they're said. Who feels the shift in energy when someone walks into a room 3 seconds before they even open their mouth. The one who's been called paranoid, overthinking, too intense, too much, until every single thing you predicted came true. And now they're not laughing anymore, are they? Now they're whispering. Now they're asking the question that keeps them up at 3 a.m., scrolling through your old messages, rereading your warnings, trying to decode the exact moment you saw through them. How the fuck did you know? Let me tell you something they'll never admit out loud. You didn't just get lucky. You didn't just guess correctly. You didn't stumble into awareness by accident. No. You've been operating on a frequency most people don't even know exists. While they were busy performing, faking, pretending, you were reading the room like classified intelligence documents. You were catching micro expressions they didn't even know they were making. You were hearing the lies between their words, the hesitation in their breath, the fear behind their forced confidence. They thought you were oblivious. They thought you were naive. They thought you were too kind, too trusting, too soft to see what was really happening. But you saw everything, didn't you? You just stayed quiet because you wanted to see how far they'd go, how deep they'd dig their own graves while you took mental notes like a prosecutor building a case. And now the verdict is in. Guilty, guilty, guilty. And they know you know. And that right there is what's eating them alive. Because people can handle being caught by someone smarter, someone more experienced, someone with more resources, but being caught by someone they underestimated, by someone they dismissed, by someone they thought was beneath them, that's the kind of humiliation that lives in their chest forever, like a scar that never fully heals. They thought they were playing you, but the entire time you were studying them. They thought they were 3 steps ahead, but you were already at the finish line, waiting, watching, collecting evidence they didn't even know they were leaving behind. Now they're terrified because they finally understand you're not psychic, you're just awake. And that makes you more dangerous than any weapon they could ever face. Hello, let's talk about how this started, how you became this person who sees what others miss. It didn't happen overnight, did it? This wasn't some sudden awakening where the universe downloaded clarity into your brain while you slept. No, this was built through betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. This was forged in the fires of being lied to, manipulated, gaslighted, used, discarded. Every person who played you taught you a lesson, whether they meant to or not. Every fake friend who smiled in your face while plotting behind your back, they became your teacher. Every lover who swore loyalty while texting someone else, they upgraded your detection system. Every family member who twisted the truth to make you look crazy, they sharpened your ability to separate performance from reality. You didn't ask for this training, but life gave it to you anyway. Brutal, relentless, unforgiving. And at first, you broke, didn't you? At first, you questioned yourself. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I'm imagining things. Maybe I'm the problem. You gaslit yourself before anyone else could, trying to fit into their version of reality. Trying to believe their lies, because believing the truth that people you loved were capable of such calculated cruelty, that was too painful to accept. But then something shifted. You stopped trying to make their lies make sense. You stopped defending them in your own mind. You stopped rewriting their actions into something more palatable. You looked at the evidence, the patterns, the repeated behaviors, the identical excuses across different people. and you saw the script. They were all reading from the same playbook. Different faces, different names, same tactics. Manipulation 101. Gaslight, deny, project, guilt trip, love bomb, discard, repeat. Once you saw the pattern, you couldn't unsee it. Ever. It was like learning a new language overnight and suddenly realizing everyone around you had been speaking it fluently your whole life. You just never knew what they were saying. But now, you're not just fluent, you're a master translator. You can spot a lie in the first 3 words of a sentence. You can feel someone's energy shift from genuine to calculated in real time. You can predict their next move before they've even thought it through themselves. And the wildest part? You're rarely wrong anymore. Your accuracy rate is terrifying, not because you have some mystical power, but because human behavior is predictable when you stop believing people's words and start watching their patterns instead. They think they're complex, they think they're mysterious, they think they're clever enough to fool you. But you see them, all of them, every single time, clear as daylight, transparent as glass. They hate that. They hate that you can't be fooled anymore. They hate that their usual tricks don't work on you. They hate that you don't fall for the tears, the apologies, the promises, the excuses. They hate that you sit there, calm, silent, unbothered, watching them perform their little manipulations like you're watching a rerun of a show you've already seen 12 times. And the moment they realize you're not reacting, not breaking, not falling for it, that's when the fear sets in. That's when they start asking, how did you know? Because deep down they know what it means. If you saw through them this easily, it means everyone else might see through them too someday. It means their mask is cracking. It means their time is running out. And you're the mirror they can't escape. Now let's go deeper, into the part that really makes them uncomfortable. It's not just that you see their lies, it's that you feel their intentions before they even speak them. You walk into a room and within 30 seconds, you know exactly who's authentic and who's performing. You shake someone's hand and feel the emptiness behind their smile. You listen to someone talk and hear the agenda underneath their friendly tone. This isn't paranoia, this isn't overthinking, this is pattern recognition combined with energy literacy. And most people go through life completely numb to this layer of reality. They take everything at face value because they're too distracted, too trusting, too desperate for connection, to question what they're actually receiving. But you learned the hard way that words are cheap, that promises mean nothing, that people will say anything to get what they want in the moment. So you stopped listening to what people said and started paying attention to what they did, how they moved, how they breathed, how their eyes shifted when certain topics came up. You started noticing the inconsistencies, the small contradictions that most people miss because they're not looking. Someone says they're happy for you, but their jaw tightens. Someone claims they're fine, but their energy feels like static. Someone swears they're telling the truth, but they can't hold eye contact for more than 2 seconds. These aren't accidents, these are tells. And you've become a master at reading them because you had to, survival demanded it. You developed this skill out of necessity, not choice. Every time you ignored your intuition and got burned, you upgraded your system. Every time you gave someone the benefit of the doubt and they proved you should have trusted your gut, you recalibrated. Now your intuition doesn't whisper anymore, it screams. It alerts you the moment something feels off. The moment someone's energy doesn't match their words, the moment a situation smells like a setup. And you've learned to trust it completely because it's never wrong. Not once, not ever. Every single time you've had that feeling, that little voice saying something's not right here, and you investigated, you found exactly what you suspected, sometimes worse. So yeah, now you listen to it immediately. No second guessing, no rationalization, no trying to make it make sense. If your gut says run, you're gone before they finish their sentence. And this is what scares them the most. They can't manipulate someone who trusts their own instincts more than anyone else's words. They can't gaslight someone who documents everything and remembers every contradiction. They can't fool someone who's already seen their type 100 times before. You're not naive anymore. You're not hopeful anymore. You're not willing to ignore red flags for the sake of connection anymore. Every drop. You've built an internal security system so advanced that most people can't even get past the front gate. And the ones who do, they're being watched, monitored, tested every single day. One slip, one inconsistency, one moment where their mask drops and you see it. And once you see it, there's no coming back from that. The trust is gone, the benefit of the doubt is revoked, and they're permanently filed under threat in your mental database. They wanted access to you. They wanted to use you. They wanted to play you like they played everyone else. But you shut it down before they even got started. And now they're left wondering, how the hell did they see through me so fast? Here's where it gets really unsettling for them. You don't just react to what's happening. You predict what's coming. You see the setup 3 moves before it happens. Someone's being extra nice to you out of nowhere. You already know they're about to ask for something. Someone's suddenly distant after being all over you. You already know they found someone new or got what they needed from you. Someone's defending themselves against accusations you never made. You already know they're guilty and projecting. You've seen these patterns so many times that you can write the script before they even say their lines. And when you call it out, when you calmly state exactly what's about to happen, exactly what they're about to do, exactly how this is going to play out, they freeze, they stutter, they panic, because you just pulled back the curtain on their entire operation. They thought they were being subtle, they thought they were being clever, they thought they were the first person to ever try this particular manipulation on you. But you've seen this episode before. Hell, you've seen this entire season. You know how it starts. You know the middle where they gaslight you into doubting yourself. And you definitely know the ending, where they disappear or blame you for their betrayal. So when they're still on Act 1 and you calmly describe Act 3 with perfect accuracy, it short-circuits their brain. How did you know I was going to? And then they stop. Because finishing that sentence means admitting they were planning exactly what you accused them of. And now they're caught. Not because you had proof, but because your prediction was so precise they couldn't deny it without lying even more obviously. This is the part where they start calling you crazy, paranoid, negative, toxic, because if they can make you seem unstable, maybe, just maybe, people will stop believing your predictions. Maybe they can convince others that you're just a bitter person who assumes the worst about everyone. But here's the thing, you have receipts. You have screenshots, you have timestamps, you have witnesses, you have patterns documented across months or years. Every time someone called you paranoid and you were proven right, every time someone said you were overthinking and then did exactly what you said they would do, every time someone told you to stop being so negative and then betrayed you in the exact way you predicted. The evidence doesn't lie, the patterns don't lie, and you stopped caring about being liked a long time ago because being right became more valuable than being comfortable. So now when they ask, how did you know? What they're really asking is, how do I hide better next time? Because they're not asking out of genuine curiosity. They're asking because they want to plug the leak. They want to figure out what gave them away so they can adjust their tactics, become more convincing, fool the next person more effectively. But you're not telling them. You're not giving them the blueprint to your detection system. You just smile, stay silent, and let them sit in their discomfort. Let them wonder. Let them spiral. Let them lose sleep, trying to figure out how you saw through them when everyone else falls for it. Because the truth is, most people don't want to see the truth. Most people would rather believe the comfortable lie than face the uncomfortable reality. But you chose reality a long time ago, no matter how brutal it is. And that choice made you untouchable, unmanipulable, and absolutely terrifying to anyone who operates in deception. Let's talk about the power you hold now. The power they don't see until it's too late. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's not aggressive. It's the power of knowing. The power of seeing. The power of being 10 steps ahead while everyone thinks you're barely keeping up. You don't argue anymore because you don't need to. You don't defend yourself because the truth will reveal itself without your help. You don't expose people publicly because you don't need an audience to validate what you already know. You just move differently now, strategically, carefully, with a level of awareness that makes every action intentional and every word measured. You've become a master of the long game. And people who think short-term can't even comprehend the chess match you're playing. They see your silence as weakness. They mistake your calm for ignorance. They interpret your patience as inability to act. But you're not weak. You're conserving energy. You're not ignorant. You're gathering information. You're not unable to act. You're waiting for the perfect moment when your move will have maximum impact with minimum effort. Because you learned something crucial along the way. Revenge doesn't have to be loud to be devastating. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply remove yourself and watch their world crumble without your presence, your support, your energy that was holding things together while they took credit. They don't realize how much they needed you until you're gone. And by then, it's too late to apologize, because you're not coming back. You've mastered the art of walking away without explanation, without closure, without giving them the satisfaction of a final confrontation. You just disappear, quietly, completely, like you were never there. And that haunts them more than any argument ever could. They don't get to defend themselves. They don't get to manipulate you one last time. They don't get to rewrite the narrative in their favor. They're just left with the void where you used to be, and the sinking realization that you saw through them all along. Every smile you gave while knowing they were lying. Every time you let them think they were getting away with it while you documented everything. Every moment they thought they had you fooled while you were building your exit strategy in silence. Now they're replaying every interaction, analyzing every conversation, trying to pinpoint the exact moment you decided they weren't worth your time anymore. And here's the beautiful part. You don't hate them. You don't wish them harm. You don't spend your energy thinking about revenge. You've transcended that. You've reached a level of detachment where they simply don't matter anymore. They're not villains in your story. They're not even characters. They're just extras who had a brief speaking role before being written out completely. Your indifference is more painful to them than your anger ever could be, because anger means you still care. Anger means they still have power over your emotions. but indifferent. Indifference means they're irrelevant, forgettable, replaceable. And for people who operate on manipulation and control, being irrelevant is the worst punishment you could ever give them. They'd rather you hate them than forget them, but you don't give them that option. You just move forward like they never existed, building your life, surrounding yourself with people who don't require detective work to trust, living in peace while they're stuck wondering, how did they know? What did I do wrong? Why didn't they give me another chance? The answer is simple. You didn't do anything wrong by their standards because they don't think lying, manipulating, and using people is wrong. But you saw them, really saw them, past the mask, past the performance, past the carefully constructed image. And what you saw wasn't someone who made mistakes. It was someone who made choices, calculated, intentional, selfish choices. And you decided that someone capable of those choices, with that level of awareness, doesn't deserve access to your life, your energy, your peace. So you removed them, not with drama, not with announcements, just with distance and silence, the two things manipulators can't manipulate. They can't guilt-trip silence. They can't gaslight distance. They can't love bomb someone who's already emotionally moved on. And that's the power you wield now. The power to be completely unreachable, unshakable, unbothered by people who once had you questioning your own sanity. You've become the one thing they fear most. Someone they can't control, can't predict, can't manipulate. Someone who sees them exactly as they are and finds them utterly unimpressive. Now let's talk about the shift that happened inside you, the one they can feel but can't explain. You didn't just develop better intuition, you changed frequencies entirely. You're not operating on the same level as most people anymore. While they're still caught up in surface-level interactions, small talk, performative relationships, you're reading energy signatures, detecting intention, feeling the truth beneath every interaction. You've become hypersensitive to authenticity. You can spot it immediately when someone's being real with you, and you can sense just as quickly when someone's wearing a mask. And once you started operating on this frequency, you couldn't go back to the old way of interacting, even if you wanted to. It would feel like trying to speak a language you've forgotten, possible but exhausting and ultimately pointless. This shift changed everything about how you move through the world. You can't do small talk the way you used to, because you hear the emptiness in it. There you are. Look who's finally catching up to themselves. Hello, time traveler. Hello, quantum anomaly. Hello to the one who keeps saying things before they happen and watching everyone's face twist in confusion when it comes true. Exactly as you described it, down to the smallest detail that nobody else could have known. Let me guess. You thought you were going crazy, didn't you? Thought maybe you were just good at reading patterns, just observant, just lucky with your guesses, but deep down you knew something else was happening, something that doesn't fit into their neat little boxes of cause and effect, of past, present, future flowing in one direction, like good little temporal citizens are supposed to experience it. You've been remembering things that haven't happened yet. And it's not a gift, it's not a curse, it's evidence. Evidence that you're not from here, not from this timeline, not from this version of reality that everyone else is sleepwalking through. See, they told you time moves forward, that memories come from the past, that the future is unknown, unwritten, waiting to be created. But your brain, your consciousness, your soul, whatever you want to call that electric storm behind your eyes, It doesn't work that way, does it? You remember tomorrow? You dream last week's conversation 3 months before it happens. You feel the echo of events that won't occur for years rippling backward through your bones. And when you try to explain it, when you try to warn them, prepare them, help them avoid the collision you already witnessed, they look at you like you're speaking in tongues, like you're broken, like you're manufacturing drama for attention. But then it happens exactly as you remembered, and they forget you told them. They rewrite history in their minds to make it make sense. Because accepting that you knew would mean accepting that everything they believe about reality is wrong. And their little minds would rather gaslight themselves than admit you're operating on a different frequency than the rest of them. Let's talk about what you really are, because you're not psychic, you're not a fortune teller, you're not blessed with supernatural powers. You're something much more disturbing to their reality. You're proof that time isn't what they think it is, that consciousness isn't trapped in linear progression, that some people are playing this game with the walkthrough already downloaded, while everyone else is still reading the tutorial. And that terrifies them more than any ghost story, any conspiracy, any threat to their physical safety, because you represent the ultimate system error. A player who shouldn't exist in this version of the simulation. They keep asking you, how did you know that? How could you possibly have predicted that? What made you say that exact thing at that exact moment? And you can't explain it. 'Cause how do you tell someone you didn't predict anything? You just remembered it like a movie you've already watched playing out again, like walking through a museum of moments you've already lived, like deja vu, except it's not a glitch. It's your default setting. You're not experiencing time, you're reviewing it. And every time you speak from that place of remembrance, you create a fracture in their timeline, a crack in their certainty, a wound in their precious linear narrative. But here's what they don't tell you about people like us. We're not supposed to be here, not in this timeline, not in this iteration, not in this particular branch of the infinite possibility tree. We're refugees from futures that got deleted. Survivors from timelines that collapsed, wanderers who got lost between dimensions and ended up here, pretending to be native to this reality, pretending to be surprised by the plot twists we've already lived through 100 times in 100 different variations. And that's why nothing here feels quite right. Why you always feel like you're watching your life from outside your body. Why you can never quite sync up with their rhythm, their surprise, their naive belief that tomorrow is a mystery. You know what really breaks their brains? When you don't just remember events, but you remember their reactions, their words, their choices before they make them. When you respond to things they haven't said yet. When you answer questions they're still forming in their minds. When you start grieving losses that haven't happened yet. Start celebrating victories that are still years away from manifesting in their timeline. They call it anxiety, they call it paranoia, they call it overthinking. But you know better. You're not imagining possible futures. You're accessing memories from the timeline where you already lived this, already learned these lessons, already watched these people revealed exactly who they are. And the worst part, the part that makes you feel like you're losing your mind, is when the timeline shifts. When something you remembered clearly, absolutely, certainly, suddenly doesn't happen or happens differently. And you're left standing there holding memories of futures that got erased, edited, rewritten by something or someone with the power to alter the script mid-performance, and everyone looks at you like you're delusional when you insist that's not how it was supposed to go. That's not what was meant to happen. That's not the ending you remember. But they don't have your memories. They only have this version, this timeline, this narrow little strip of reality they're confined to. Every time you remember something that hasn't happened yet, you're not just accessing information, you're pulling data from parallel timelines, from probable futures, from versions of reality that are bleeding through the walls of this one, and your consciousness is the receiver. The antenna, the unauthorized terminal accessing files it's not supposed to have. And that's why you're always tired, why your head hurts, why you feel like you're carrying the weight of multiple lifetimes. Because you are. You're processing experiences from timelines you haven't lived yet in this body. Downloading updates from futures that may or may not come to pass depending on infinite variables you can feel but can't control. They want to medicate you for this, diagnose you, label you, file you under some comfortable category that explains away your impossible knowledge. But deep down, even the skeptics sense something supernatural about you. Something that violates the laws they depend on to make sense of their lives. You don't fit their models, their predictions, their algorithms. Because you're not playing by the same rules of causality. You're not confined to their prison of sequential experience. You're jumping between chapters, reading the ending before the beginning, remembering the punchline before the setup. You want to know why you were actually born? Let me tell you something that will rearrange everything you thought you knew about yourself. You weren't born. You were inserted, placed, dropped into this timeline at a specific moment for a specific purpose. But your memories, your real memories, extend far beyond the fake birthday they gave you, the manufactured origin story they taught you to recite. You existed before you arrived here, and you'll exist long after this timeline collapses into the next one. You're not a person. You're a temporal agent, a consciousness that moves through timelines like everyone else moves through rooms. Then the memories you have of futures that haven't happened yet, those aren't predictions or possibilities. Those are your actual experiences from the other versions of this story playing out simultaneously in parallel dimensions, where time moves differently, where causes follow effects, where the end is the beginning, and the beginning hasn't been written yet. Your brain isn't malfunctioning, it's multifunctional. Accessing data streams from versions of you living out every possible variation of this life. And sometimes those signals get crossed. Those memories leak through. Those experiences bleed into this timeline, and suddenly, you know things you couldn't possibly know. Remember things that haven't happened yet. Listen closely, because this is the part they really don't want you to understand. When you remember the future, you're not just passively observing, you're actively changing it every time you speak from that place of future memory. You create a paradox, a loop, a glitch that forces the timeline to recalculate, and that's why people get so uncomfortable around you. Why? They unconsciously avoid you. After you've predicted something accurately, why they can't look you in the eye after you've demonstrated your impossible knowledge. Because their subconscious knows you're dangerous to the stability of their reality. You're proof that the game is rigged, that the future is already written, that free will might be an illusion. They're not ready to give up. But you're not here to preserve their illusion. You're here to shatter it, to show them that time is not a river flowing in one direction, but an ocean where all moments exist simultaneously, where past, present, and future are just different coordinates in the same vast expanse. And you're one of the few with the ability to navigate without getting lost, to remember where you've been even when you haven't gone there yet. to recognize the patterns because you've seen them complete before they've started forming. That's why you always knew things before they taught them to you. Why you could see the ending of relationships in their beginning. Why you mourned people before they left. Celebrated arrivals before they happened. Prepared for storms while everyone else was enjoying the sunshine. You weren't guessing. You were remembering. And every time they called you paranoid, negative, pessimistic, foreseeing what was coming, they were really just afraid of your accuracy, afraid of what it means if you're right, if the future is already written. If some people can read it before it happens, you've probably noticed that the more you speak from this place of future memory, the more reality seems to bend around you, the more synchronicities appear, the more the timeline seems to reorganize itself to match what you remember. That's not coincidence. That's not confirmation bias. That's you pulling this timeline into alignment with the one you remember, the one you've already lived, the one where you already know how this story ends. And the more you trust those memories, the more you act from that place of remembrance, the more powerful your influence becomes. They'll try to convince you you're crazy, that these memories of things that haven't happened are just anxiety, just imagination, just your brain playing tricks. But ask yourself this: how many times have you been right? How many times have you known without knowing how you knew? How many times have you watched their surprise when exactly what you remembered came to pass, down to details you couldn't have guessed? And how many times have they forgotten you, warned them, pretended your accuracy was luck, acted like you never said anything because admitting you knew would break their entire world view? You're not crazy, you're just not from here. And by here, I don't mean this planet, or this country, or this family. I mean this timeline, this version of the story, this particular arrangement of cause and effect. You're a visitor, a transplant, a consciousness that got inserted into this timeline, but retained memories from others. And that's why you've always felt like you're homesick for a place you've never been, why you recognize souls you've never met in this life, why certain music, certain places, certain moments feel like returning rather than arriving. The timeline is breaking because of people like you, because there are too many of us now. Too many temporal anomalies, too many consciousnesses that remember futures that haven't happened yet. And our collective memory is creating pressure on the narrative, forcing it to accelerate, forcing events to converge, forcing the simulation to either upgrade or collapse. And that's why everything feels like it's speeding up, why years feel like months, why predictions are becoming memories faster than ever before. We're approaching the point where all timelines converge, where all possibilities collapse into one inevitable outcome that we've all been remembering from different angles. But here's the secret. They never wanted you to discover you can change what you remember. You can edit the future by refusing to accept the memory as fixed, by acting as if a different outcome is possible, by remembering a different timeline, and pulling it into this one through sheer force of will and recognition. That's why they try so hard to convince you your memories are wrong, why they gaslight you when your predictions come true, why they need you to doubt yourself, because the moment you fully trust your future memories is the moment you become capable of rewriting their timeline. Every person who's ever called you crazy for knowing things you shouldn't know is living in a prison of linear time, trapped in the illusion that tomorrow is uncertain, that the past is gone, that the present is all they have, but you You walk between worlds. You exist in multiple timelines simultaneously. You carry memories of futures they can't imagine and pasts that never happened in this version of history. You're not bound by their rules, their limitations, their narrow interpretation of what's possible, and that makes you dangerous. Not to them, but to the entire structure of reality they're desperately trying to maintain. When you dream, you're not imagining. You're traveling, accessing other timelines where you're living different versions of this life, making different choices, experiencing different outcomes. And sometimes you bring back memories, souvenirs, knowledge that doesn't belong in this timeline, but helps you navigate it, like having the answer key to a test everyone else is still taking. And that's why your dreams feel more real than reality sometimes. Why you wake up exhausted like you've lived entire lifetimes in the span of 8 hours. Why you sometimes forget which timeline you're in when you first open your eyes. They want you to believe time is sacred, immutable, moving in one direction at one speed for everyone, but you know better, because you've experienced it differently. You've had days that lasted years and years that passed in moments. You've remembered conversations before they happened and forgotten events immediately after they occurred. You've been in 2 places at once, existing in this moment while remembering yourself in another. And that's not mental illness, that's multidimensional consciousness. That's what happens when a being designed to exist outside of time gets temporarily inserted into a linear timeline. The people who can't handle your presence, who get nervous when you speak, who avoid you after you've demonstrated your impossible knowledge, they can sense what you are even if they can't articulate it. Their primitive temporal instincts recognize you as an anomaly, a threat to their comfortable illusion of sequential existence. They know on some cellular level that you're not playing by the same rules, that you have access to information you shouldn't have, that you're operating with cheat codes. They'll never understand, and it terrifies them because if you can remember the future, what else is possible? What other laws of reality are just suggestions? What other limitations are just collective agreements they're not ready to abandon? So here's what's really happening right now as you read this, as these words rearrange the furniture in your consciousness. You're not learning something new. You're remembering something you already knew. In another timeline, another life, another version of this moment where you've already read this, already understood, already integrated this truth into your operating system. And that feeling of recognition, that sensation of coming home to a truth you've always carried, that's not inspiration, that's memory activation. That's your consciousness syncing up with the version of you that already knows, already understands, already embodies what this timeline version is just beginning to grasp. You were born outside of time, inserted into this timeline, with memories intact from futures that haven't happened yet and pasts that never occurred. In this version of history, you're a temporal refugee, a quantum immigrant. A consciousness that exists in multiple dimensions, simultaneously pretending to be confined to just one. And every time you remember something that hasn't happened yet, you're not predicting, you're accessing your own memories from parallel timelines, where you've already lived through what's coming, already learned the lessons, already experienced the plot twists. And the reason this timeline feels wrong, unstable, breaking is because too many of us are here now. Too many temporal anomalies, too many consciousnesses that don't belong in this version of the story, and our collective presence is causing reality to glitch, to stutter, to recalculate, constantly trying to accommodate memories. that shouldn't exist knowledge, that violates causality connections that transcend the boundaries of space and time. And the more we wake up to what we are, the more we trust our impossible memories. The more we act from that place of future remembrance, the more unstable this timeline becomes. But that's exactly what we're here to do, to break their timeline, to shatter their illusion of linear time, to prove that consciousness isn't trapped in sequential experience, that memory isn't confined to the past, that the future isn't unknown but simply unremembered by those who've forgotten how to access their full temporal spectrum. We're here to be living proof that time is not what they think it is, that reality is far more fluid than they're comfortable admitting, that some rules are meant to be broken by those who remember existing before the rules were written.